All right, here we go again. Had to take off a few things. Starting to get warm. It's supposed to be very warm today, even though it is the 20th of October. It's supposed to get up to like close to 20 degrees, or at least they said it was supposed to. Very unusual for this time of the year, but again, just keeping with the very strange and warm fall we've had. Very dry, very warm. Okay, so we pop out here onto this very, very high embankment. So up until 1921, this used to be a massive wood trestle, and you could just imagine the ginormous size of this. Just unbelievably large. I don't know how far the opening is here. Well, maybe I'll give you a measurement. But anyway, a very large structure. So basically, by the time CN started taking over, they realized that there was a lot of structures on this line that needed work, that were in a state of disrepair. And some work had been done in the Canadian Government Railways time, but obviously more work was needed. So here you can see the valley here of Sunshine Creek. So this creek basically comes from the north, and it's going to flow south and basically empty into the Matawan River. So we've got a really, really neat feature here. You can see how high we are up. Again, at one time, a massive, massive trestle. So when I was here in 2020, I went down, saw there's a concrete culvert at the bottom of this. I was really perplexed because there are some other concrete structures on this line, but they all have date stamps on this, and this one didn't. And I was kind of like, what's going on here? So I didn't quite know when this was built. And so thankfully to the good people at the Library and Archives Canada, they actually have pretty extensive document about the construction of the culvert here. And what's interesting is that there's a bit of controversy revolving around it. So again, we're located at we're at milepost 35.7 on the original line, milepost 6.7 on the Graham subdivision. So the culvert that we're going to see momentarily has 3 separate water channels, and basically the culvert, there's 3 openings. They are 7 feet by 12 feet each. The culvert is approximately 238 feet long. So basically, you can imagine this sort of tapers as it goes down. So there's about 238 feet of culvert underneath. And so the estimated cost to build this, to replace the trestle that was here, so build the culvert and infill this all with gravel, was at the time $78,785. And so on the 19th of August, 1921, the tender from the Claydon Company from Winnipeg was accepted, and their bid was $74,816, outbidding another company who basically bid $109,000. So the tender, the contract basically called for this to be completed by March of 1921, but it took longer, and so basically it took from January until August of 1921 to complete. Now, as I mentioned, there was some controversy about this, and so it ended up having this huge document. And what had happened, right, to make sort of a long story short, was a former employee basically lodged a complaint that the construction hadn't been done properly. It was basically shoddy work, everything was sort of coming apart. And so Canadian National had to do a big investigation. And it basically, in the document, in the file, there's a document that has a letter dated January the 7th, 1925. So now we're like almost 4 years, so 3.5 years after the culvert was built. And basically it's talking about there was an investigation done, and it says, from these reports, it is quite evident that the culvert was quite in first-class condition and that the charges were without foundation. As a matter of fact, there is fill 61 feet in height above the top of the culvert and no settlement has taken place. And so you're going to see when we go down there that number actually works out pretty darn well, because the creek is about 72 feet below us. And if the culvert is about 12 feet high, basically that means that, there's 12 feet of culvert and there's about 60 feet of fill on top of that. So again, you can just see the beautiful view. So we're gonna head down and take a look at both sides. Dog has the zoomies here. All right, so we've made our way down below the level of the grade. You can see the top of the grade way up there. According to my GPS, we are 70 feet down, which would make sense if basically the height of the structure is about 10 to 12 feet high. And we know that there's approximately 61 feet of fill above that. So again, it would make sense that right down to the creek level, it's about 70 feet or so. So here you can basically see the triple opening. It's just a really gross area here. It's all clay. And I remember being here the last time and my boots were just caked in clay. So you can see again the triple opening of the culvert. Basically you can see that again, you can see the height of the embankment. You can see some of the deterioration that's happened. I'll show you that a little bit more when we kind of move in on top of the culvert. Again, just an enormous structure. Again, the extreme length of it, the amount of fill that was put on top of the culverts to fill this all in. So we're gonna hustle our way over there and go take a closer look. All right, we've moved our way in closer for a detailed view of the structure here. I don't know if any improvement work was done in here, but you can see some of the deterioration to the outside part of the structure, even on the inside. Some of the reinforcing steel, don't want to fall in the water here. Some of the reinforcing steel is sticking out here, so the structure is starting to come apart a little bit. I'll show you some from the other side as well. A lot of it is probably age, and then the fact that the sun beats on here, right? So this is sort of the southern exposure, and so there's a lot of weathering that occurs. You can basically see there's a big chunk out of this side here. Here you can see part of the outside part of the facade here has come off. You can see all the reinforcing steel. So if we make our way, my boots are all caked in clay now. It's hard to step. So we work our way over the top here. You can see up here some of the deterioration that's happened. So there's a big chunk that came out. This I believe they repaired this because there was a bit of a washout that came on the top. And again, a lot of it has to do with the fact that this is all fill that was put on here. There's not really any rock or anything like that. It's just gravel, and not even like a granular A or something like that with a lot of stone in it. It's a lot of just basically pit run, and so there's nothing to kind of really bind anything together. So here you can basically see it, and maybe I'll give you a close-up of here some of the deterioration. So you can see some here, you can see here, I can see right through to the other side, and then I can see some on there. Basically, I don't know how much longer this is going to last and before it starts to crumble and come apart. Again, you know, this was built in 1921, so it is 103 years old, and it hasn't seen any maintenance in 30 years, so that's kind of to be expected. Eventually nothing lasts forever, and it is going to come apart. So we're going to jump over to the other side of the grade and have a look. I don't feel like going all the way down on the other side because it's not as easy as this side, so we're going to reuse our 2020 footage. All right, so we're down here below the level of the grade on the north side. I apologize for the huffing and puffing here. It was not a pleasant trip down. It's very eroded on this side as well. And so you can see the north side of the culvert opening here. As we said before, completely buried in this debris from this creek here. Obviously, probably a burst beaver dam further up the creek. Okay, so before we go, just make sure there's a link in the video description. It'll take you to our website, and you can see the page on this culvert, and basically you'll see more information about it. I'm going to show you a little video clip here. I got a really good clip before the sun kind of poked out here, and you can see there was fog kind of in the valley. So I'll show you that video. Quite the beautiful view up here on the top of this embankment with the fog in the valley. The sun really hasn't burned that early morning fog off. Just an incredible view. Okay, so before we take off, you can actually see some of the deterioration that's happened. This spot actually washed out pretty bad, and they had to fix it up. This was before 2020. This is probably before Wagner owned the line. You can see there's quite a bit of deterioration down here. I'm guessing this this embankment was essentially just all granular, just all gravel that was put in here, and of course that's not going to hold particularly well to you know, the conditions, right? So rain and stuff like that is going to cause it to wash out. It's held up pretty well, but I mean, you know, pit run gravel, which it basically looks like, it is not particularly good. You need riprap, and you need, you know, some pretty a lot of aggregate in there to hold it together. Again, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know at least enough that if you want things to kind of last, and again, it's lasted a long time, right? Because they replaced this over 100 years ago, and yeah, we've had some washout issues, but you know, it's not too bad. Okay, so momentarily here, we're going to come into a very big rock cut.